In 1972, a group of researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, made a bold prediction. If humanity kept growing and consuming resources without change, society could collapse by 2040. Their report, called The Limits to Growth, used a computer model to study how population, industry, pollution, and resources interact. Fast forward to today, and new research suggests we're on track for their warning to come true. This isn't a sci-fi story, it's a reality-based wake-up call. Let's dive into what the MIT study said, why it matters, and what we can do about it. What was the MIT study about? Back in the 1970s, the world was going through major changes. Industries were booming, cities were expanding, and people were consuming more resources than ever before. Amid this rapid growth, a group known as the Club of Rome, a global think tank made up of scientists, economists, and policymakers, began to ask a serious question. Could this kind of growth continue forever? To find the answer, they turned to researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. The MIT team created a computer simulation called World 3. This model examined 5 important global factors: population growth, industrial production, food supply, natural resource consumption, and pollution levels. It then ran different scenarios to see what the future might look like under various choices and behaviors. One scenario, called business as usual, BAU, assumed that the world would continue on its current path without major changes. The results were alarming. According to World 3, if trends continued without intervention, global economic growth would peak around 2020 and begin to decline by 2040 due to depleted resources, rising pollution, and falling food production. A chilling update: are we on track? In 2020, Gaia Harrington, a sustainability expert, checked if a famous 1972 MIT prediction was coming true. She wasn't trying to scare anyone, just to see if the world was on track. Using real-world data from 1972 to 2020, she compared it to a computer model called World 3. What she found was worrying. The world is following the BAU2 path, which predicts a big slowdown in growth and a collapse around 2040. Harrington studied 10 key things like pollution, population, and factory output. She found we're using up nature too fast, burning fuel, cutting trees, and polluting the air and soil. By 2020, signs showed we'd already crossed a danger line. But collapse doesn't mean the end of the world. It means harder lives, less food, poor health, dirty water, and fewer jobs, unless we change course fast. Why could society collapse? The MIT study and Harrington's update show that by 2040, the world could face serious problems if current trends continue. One major issue is overpopulation. In 1972, the global population was 3.9 billion, but now it's around 8 billion. This sharp increase means more demand for food, clean water, and energy. Although birth rates are falling in some regions, the overall pressure on resources is still growing. Another problem is resource depletion. We're using up non-renewable resources like oil, gas, and minerals faster than they can be replaced. Some experts believe that if we don't switch to renewable energy soon, we might run out of accessible fossil fuels by 2050. Water shortages are already affecting many areas. Pollution and climate change are also making things worse. Pollution from factories, cars, and farms is damaging the environment. Burning fossil fuels is causing global temperatures to rise, leading to wildfires, floods, and extreme weather. Economically, our system relies on endless growth, which isn't possible on a planet with limited resources. As things become scarce, prices go up, jobs are lost, and industries collapse. Is collapse inevitable? Here's the good news. The MIT study doesn't say collapse is guaranteed. It's a warning, not a prophecy. The World 3 model also explored scenarios where society avoids disaster. For example, the Stabilized World (SW) scenario showed that if we invest in green technology, reduce pollution, and focus on people's well-being instead of endless growth, we could avoid collapse. But Harrington's research found that the SW scenario is the least likely based on current trends. The bad news? Time is running out. Harrington says we have about a decade, until the 2030s, to make big changes. After that, the damage might be too severe to reverse. Climate change is already making life harder, with wildfires in the US, floods in Europe, and droughts in Africa. If we keep following the business-as-usual path, the 2040 collapse could become reality. Real-world signs. We're in trouble. The MIT prediction isn't just numbers on a graph. It's backed by what's happening around us. In 2024, the world saw record-breaking heat waves, with temperatures in some areas hitting 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The Amazon rainforest, once a major carbon sink, is now releasing more carbon than it absorbs due to deforestation. Insect populations are crashing, threatening food chains. And arable land, the soil we need to grow food, could be exhausted by 2050 if farming practices don't change. Socially, things aren't looking great either. Income inequality is at historic highs in many countries. In the US, the top 1% own more wealth than the bottom 90%. Political division is fueling unrest, from protests to polarized elections. Meanwhile, governments are slow to act on climate change. The 2023 COP climate conference was led by an oil company CEO, raising doubts about global commitment to change. Stories from history. The idea of collapse isn't just a modern worry. History is full of examples. The Roman Empire took centuries to fall, worn down by corruption, invasions, and economic troubles. The Aztec civilization collapsed in just 93 days when Spanish invaders and disease struck. Even Pompeii was wiped out overnight by a volcano. These stories remind us that no society is invincible. The MIT study suggests we're not so different. We're just facing bigger global challenges. Can we change the future? The MIT prediction is alarming, but it's not a death sentence. It's a wake-up call. Experts like Harrington believe we still have time to change course if we act quickly and wisely. One major step is switching to renewable energy, such as solar and wind power, which can cut pollution and reduce the impact of climate change. Countries like Denmark already get over half their energy from renewables, showing it's possible. Another key area is sustainable farming. Practices like regenerative agriculture can heal the soil and increase food production while protecting nature. At the same time, nations should shift focus from endless economic growth to improving people's well-being through better healthcare, education, and equality. Costa Rica proves this can work with strong public services and a happy, healthy population. Global cooperation is also crucial. Why this matters to you? The MIT prediction isn't just data. It's a warning and a spark of hope. Picture 2040. Empty shelves, polluted skies, clean water priced like gold. That's one path, but history shows we're resilient. We've rebuilt after plagues, adapted through revolutions. Now, we've got science, tech, and global voices. The real question isn't will we collapse, it's will we rise? Every choice we make now shapes that answer. The MIT study is our wake-up call. It's not too late. The future isn't written yet, we still hold the pen. In conclusion, the MIT study from 1972 and Harrington's 2020 update aren't guarantees of doom. They're warnings. We're on a path toward collapse by 2040, but we can still change course. The next decade is critical. By investing in sustainability, rethinking growth, and working together, we can avoid the worst. Thank you for watching and supporting us.